Welcome to downloadwaugh.com and welcome to another audio post-production journey. And yes, indeed, today's topic is the risk and reward of using an old hardware with a new computer. I know a lot of you can relate to this because I find a lot of these audio interfaces, they last for a very long time. They work fine, and then you upgrade your computer and then they stop working. Yeah. So yes, I started recording back in 2001. A good friend of mine introduced me to Pro Tools Empowered version 7. His name is Kieran Murray. Big ups to Kieran Murray. Thank you for that. And later that summer, I decided I wanted to pursue recording music. So I went out and bought myself a Dell PC. Yeah. Gotta start somewhere. So yeah, I got my PC and loaded on. I got one of the M Audio 1814. Sounded really good. At least back in the day, they did to me. And I got one of those and hooked it up and fired the Pro Tools, and it was, I was rocking. I went out and I got myself one of the Project Mix IO because I wanted faders and I need more inputs, so I can record drums and all of that. So that was my next acquisition. Eventually, I outgrew my PC, and in 2008, I got myself my first MacBook Pro. I think it was a 17-inch. Yeah, Firewire and everything back in the day, It was really good. So, one thing I realized with getting a new machine, it comes with a host of other problems during that time, Firewire, trying to find the right cables and compatibility issues with plugins and all of that. And it all started back in 2008 when, now I needed to upgrade because, Pro Tools 7 point something doesn't work anymore. So now I have to get Pro Tools version 8. Yeah, so that's another $500. Bam! Down the drain. So yeah, I got Pro Tools version 8, had that up and running. I realized that, learning the difference between Windows and Mac is significant, In terms of Firewire, I would install a Firewire PCI card on the Windows side, and it would, it wasn't very stable. Sometimes it worked, sometimes, blue screen of death and all of that stuff. So I find the Mac platform was better, especially when it comes to Firewire. But one thing I've found out over the years, though, that there are certain formats that kind of stand the test of time, AVB, which is Ethernet, MIDI, USB, we're still on USB. So, hey, let me tell you, you have to be so smart now when you're making those purchases. You have to really say, okay, when I'm buying an interface, will it last a certain amount of time, because of course everything is going to get obsolete at some point. Today, I'm using a Motu interface, so no longer really using the M Audio, at least not as my primary audio interface. So I'm using the Motu 828 Hybrid. Really cool interface, but it's an older interface. It's also Firewire 800. But the great thing about Motu is that they keep their drivers up to date. Unfortunately, with M Audio, their drivers stopped working back in 2014, I think. So yeah, pretty much a decade ago. The Motu drivers work even in 2023, which is amazing. So what I did to get things working, I had to not only use a Firewire 800 cable, I had to get two adapters. So a Firewire 800 to a Thunderbolt 1, and then a Thunderbolt 1 to a Thunderbolt 3 for it to work on my Mac Studio computer. And then use ADAT from my current M Audio interface, which is the M Audio Profire 2626. I have a couple of those. I hook them up to the Motu through ADAT. So that's how I'm able to get up to 28 inputs, including SPDIF. Motu has an extra 2 preamps in addition to their 8 analog inputs, which is great. Tons of inputs, so I can plug all my keyboards in at once, and my drum set around in the drum room, and have everything plugged up and ready to go so I can compose music. So that's great. The risk, obviously, if I update my operating system from Ventura to whatever Apple is coming up with next, it may break the driver and stop working. That is the obvious downside, but the upside is that using an older interface is that it's cheaper by far. You know, I think I got my Motu for like half or less than half the value of it new, and I got it relatively spotless, so it's kind of a no-brainer in that sense. And the great thing about the Motu is that you have monitoring, so you can have group monitoring like you get on like any modern pro audio interface, where you can monitor multiple outputs at once. Funny enough, the M-Audio 2626 can do group monitoring. And when I say group monitoring, meaning that you can do like a Dolby Atmos monitoring. So you can get upwards of 16 channels output, as many as 24 channels if you want, if you include the digital outputs as well. And that way you can get your 9.1.6, or in my case, I have a very small studio, so I'll probably do either 7.1.4 or even a 5.1.4 or 7.1.2. It all depends. That's the next journey of installing all the speakers for the Dolby Atmos. It's risky, but it's way cheaper. So that's the obvious upside. And when you choose, like, honestly, if you go with like even companies like RME seem to support their hardware for sometimes up to 15, even close to 20 years. It's amazing the support that they have. So you can buy used gear from RME as well. Their drivers are rock solid. They continue working. So that was another company I was looking at as well. But eventually I probably cave and just get myself a brand new interface and find myself in 2023, you know. But for now, I'm able to get really good quality sound, and I'm recording my voice right now in the Motu 828 hybrid preamp. They sound pretty good to me. And even my M-Audio 2626, those old, decades old preamp, they work just fine, and they sound pretty clean. So, and one thing I must encourage, when you're recording, I'd say always record at 32-bit float. That way you get a ton of headroom, so you don't have to really boost your preamp too hard, and then you can bring up your gain without bringing up the noise floor, so you get clean audio. Another thing you could do is record at a higher sample rate. So rather than recording 48, record at 96 kilohertz, you know. Especially if you're gonna be detuning, if you're sound designing, you might wanna record at a much higher sample rate, because I find the higher the sample rate, way less artifacts on your finished audio at the end. So check those out. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. I know it was a bit of a ramble, but yep, unscripted. We're getting it done. Just a few more weeks to go to start college and learn this stuff for real. Anyways, thanks so much for hanging out with me, and have a fantastic week, and see you soon. Bye-bye.